Hello and welcome back to Crusader Kings 3 Dev Diary videos. It's been a few weeks since we last had one of these, and that is because all the Paradox went on holiday, which is nice for them. I hope they had a good time. But there are some back in the office now, I guess, or rather working from home again, what with COVID and all that. I have no idea. But in any case, we now have Dev Diaries again, and I, for one, am very happy about that. So let's dive into Dev Diary number 34. It's all about appearances. Hello, I'm Niels, and I'm the lead character artist on CK3. We've already touched briefly on a lot of the features of the portrait system, but in this Dev Diary I'm going to dive deeper into the intricacies of the system. It might get a bit technical at points, so bear with me. I personally think all this stuff is very cool, but I'm also a gigantic nerd when it comes to these kinds of things. Nothing wrong with being a gigantic nerd. We play Paradox games, and you're currently watching a video from somebody about a developer diary, so you're a gigantic nerd too, dear viewer. Just accept it. Yeah, this looks cool. Doesn't look bin baggy. You know, the satin isn't too shiny. It looks good. Looks good. Let's keep going. There's going to be a lot of text in this dev diary, but really, when it comes down to it, it's mostly there as an excuse to show off the art. Yeah, it's fair. Characters are generated dynamically in the game using a DNA system that defines their looks. Everything from mouth shape to body height is stored in this DNA. This DNA is made up of a number of genes. Each gene defines a certain feature. CK2 already does something similar, but in CK3 we have more than 10 times the amount of genes for every character, and a lot of added complexity. The system itself is very flexible, and it was up to me to show how to set it up to get as much visual variation out of it as possible. Our predecessor, CK2, by necessity, builds up characters from a limited number of facial features. There are X amount of nose combinations with X amount of mouths and X amount of eyes, and so on to make the face. While this works well and gives a good amount of variation, it still has some inherent limitations. What we've done in CK3 is to have a much more granular approach where we use many parameters to control each feature. So for example, instead of just picking a nose, you shouldn't pick your nose, kids, out of a selection of predefined noses, we store values for nose protrusion, nose height, nose length, nose nostril height, nose nostril width, ridge profile, ridge angle, ridge width, nose size, nose tip angle, tip protrusion, tip width, blah 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 blah. Lots of fucking nose values. If you're into noses or any other facial feature, this is a game for you. Yeah, well, we got a plenty of different kinds of noses there, and I'm sure you can make some absolute abominations as well, if you so desire. I'd say out of these, like, all of these faces look way better than what you can find in CK2. I especially like the one on the bottom right. That beard is, let's say, a magnificent. My god, what a glorious beard. Anyway, let's move on again. Some of the many faces and noses of CK3. As you can imagine, this gives us quite a detailed control over the facial features of the characters, and they can vary greatly depending on many factors, which I'll try to cover here. Let's start with ethnicity. Like we've shown in the other dev diaries already, the CK3 map covers a vast area of the world from Ireland in the west to modern-day Mongolia in the east, and from the Arctic Norway in the north to sub-Saharan Africa in the south. This big area is populated by groups of different ethnicities, which we represent in the game. Due to the way the character generating system is set up, we can use the same base assets for all different ethnicities and just script in different average values for the facial feature parameters. As an example, West African characters have on average darker skin, fuller lips, and differently shaped noses than their European or Asian counterparts, but they still use the exact same base model. This is good news for inheritance, which is the next subject I will discuss. We got another full picture full of faces to look at. And yeah, I gotta say, who's got the best beard here? I'm gonna say it's probably far on the right hand side, top middle. Yeah, so next to the lady and underneath the lady. And above the lady, actually, as well. Surrounded by ladies. Yeah, he's cool. Although the Saladin-looking guy on the top, one from the right, also looks pretty damn cool. Like, not specifically the beard, but just in general, he looks really cool. I like it. I very much like a lot of this. Yeah, no, things are looking good there on the facial portraits. Due to the fact that all characters use the same base model, we can easily create blends between multiple DNAs. Each character stalls 2 sets of genes that we call dominant and recessive, respectively. Disclaimer, please note that the dominant and recessive genes in our system do not work exactly like in real life. We're still dealing with an approximation of genetics. We haven't fully replicated real-world genetics yet. CK12 then. When a baby is born, it will inherit 2 versions of each gene, both of which will come randomly from either parent. As mentioned, one of the genes will end up being dominant and the other one recessive based on a chance value. Dominant genes from the parents have a higher chance of being inherited as dominant genes for the baby. The appearance of the newborn character is decided entirely by its dominant gene set, but the recessive genes are still there as a representation of genes carried down the generations. So when this new character goes to get its own babies, they will have a chance of inheriting a gene from their grandparents, even though that gene might not have been visible on their parent. Something that can totally happen in real life as well. But yeah, looking good there. Interesting. Okay, so we can see the parents and then the kids beneath them, which is pretty cool. Certainly the kids below, if you're looking, the ones on the left, I don't know what specific ethnicity the guy on the left is from, but let's say he's a little bit Mongolian. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's more Tibetan or something, but in that general region, he's definitely from Asia. And then the lady looks probably European. The kids, it's actually kind of difficult to place them in either group. Like, you can see Mongolian or Asian features, especially one in the center, because of the hair is very, very much of that area. But it's really, like, you can see, like, especially in the eyes, the Asian features, and then you can see in the, like, face shape and the nose shape and stuff. It's really good. It's really good the way they've done this. That's awesome. And then we have on the right-hand side, it looks like, honestly, they both look pretty European to me. But you can see, things of both characters in the kids. And they certainly look like they could be brothers, those two males there, male kids. Also, that ginger hair probably came from a grandparent. Ginger hair in reality is a recessive gene. So it would be, or it's recessive compared to brown hair and black hair. So that's why it's there's fewer gingers and than there are people with brown hair. But yeah, that's you can definitely see that the 2 kids there are siblings. Yeah, I like it. That's some good shit. Some good shit. Top row parents and bottom row children. If you look closely, you should be able to spot the inherited features. Yeah, like I'm gonna say for the ones on the right, definitely the nose came from the one in the center. The nose definitely came from the father. It's actually they all did. Maybe the girl's nose came from the mother. Boy in red coat, lips came from the mother. The ginger kid's lips came from the father. I'd say the girl's lips came from the father as well, honestly. Eyes, I'm sure the eye color is, if you could zoom in a bit more, then you'd be able to see eye color. I think the guy's got either green or blue eyes, the father. But it's really actually quite hard to tell. But it's one of those instinctive things. You can sort of just tell that they work. Anyway. I hope you guys are still awake for the continuation of this dev diary. It's not been that long. We've only been going like 9 minutes. What does all this genetics mumbo-jumbo mean for you as a player? It means that inheritance has a much bigger impact on the appearance of a character in CK3 than it does in CK2. Characters of different ethnicities that get down for the hanky-panky will make babies that look like a blend between both parents, with some genes from further back in the family tree thrown into the mix. Of course, there's still a fair amount of randomness in the system, so we won't get identical siblings unless they are, identical twins. Oh no, that would be cool. I want to see identical twins as well. Now, while we're on the subject, let's talk briefly about children and aging. No, let's actually talk a bit more about identical twins. Imagine, if you will, you are the ruler, you're maybe the king or the duke or whatever, and you have some identical twins. Let's call them Rob and Bob. You have Rob and Bob. They are identical in every single way. It would be absolutely insanely, amazingly cool if, say, Rob was the primary heir, and Bob tried to take it by imitating Rob. I probably should have named them something different. Whatever. But Bob, the secondary heir, like, tried to just take Rob's place. Just straight up just take his place. Like, I am now Rob, and this guy here is lying. He is actually Bob, and he's trying to take my place. That would be cool. If you had a high enough like spy master skill intrigue, then you'd be able to do that. That would be really cool. But anyway, there's some interesting things that probably could happen, but probably won't. That's very, very niche. You're not going to get a whole lot of identical twins, and then, you know, scripting an entire sequence for those twins is a bit much. But anyway, it'd still be cool. Anyway, now we're on the subject, let's talk briefly about children and aging. This is the other huge factor in defining the appearance of a character, his or her age. The 3D system that we use gives us the possibility to have seamless aging. Oh, excuse me. And there's a ton of things that are set up to take advantage of this. A newborn child will obviously be very tiny compared to when it's all grown up. Its adult facial features will be there already from birth, but they're very toned down during early childhood to get gradually more pronounced as the character ages. When a character approaches their 30s and 40s, their skin will get more rugged, age lines and wrinkles will start appearing on their face, and their hair turns grey. Once they enter old age, their body will start sagging, posture will deteriorate, their ears and nose will get bigger, and the jaw protrudes as they lose their teeth. Nice. Why would their ears and nose get bigger? Is that something that happens when you age? Is that something I've got to look forward to? Speaking of age, I turned 29 today. Happy birthday, me. Anyway, moving on. So, this is a character from birth till... yeah. It's like his head just sagged. But honestly, that's cool. That's really cool. Like, the only big difference you can see, like the biggest difference between two pictures here, is that the kid gets more hair in the 6th image. But otherwise, that is really fucking cool. You can't pick a point and be like, this is when he turns into a different character. Oh, also, getting a beard on the 3rd line is another big one. But other than that, like, point out the places where it's really different. Like, you can still see the continuation from the previous dude every time. And that is awesome. That's really cool. I love it. Also, change your clothes, mate. You've been in the same clothes all your life. That's cool. I like it. In addition to genetics and age, lifestyle choices and changes also impact a character's appearance. Body types vary greatly from alarmingly thin victims of starvation to truly impressive bulks of some high nobility gluttons. Different levels of muscularity and fitness are also represented and tied to the prowess value in the game. So we've got a few characters here. Chunky fella, starving fella, absolute swole Chad of a man fella, Big Bertha, starving Witch of the West, and honestly kind of in between, maybe a bit on the thick side, but you can't really tell with a headdress. Also quite muscular looking at her arms. Yeah, that's just want to fucking Channing Tatum much. Channing Tatum with a mustache, really? It totally is. It totally is. Channing Tatum with a mustache. Love it. Anyway. Oh, and we have naked people too. Nice. And it is fucking phenomenal that they can do all of that. Like, they've got every single bit of body type in between that starving person and this chunky fella. Wow. Oh, and more here. And different levels of muscularity as well, I guess. I got ripped in 5 seconds. Oh, the dream. There are a number of traits and conditions, genetic or otherwise, that have visual impact on the character portrait. Some examples of non-genetic ones are pregnancy, wounds, scars, lost arms, blindness, and disfigurement. And some notable examples of genetic conditions are dwarfism, gigantism, albism, and hunchback. So we have, I guess, a couple of dwarves on the left, so a couple of giants in the center, and a couple of albinos on the right-hand side. Yeah, you can see the red eyes on the lady. Alright, that's cool. I like it. And we've got some genetic... He looks like a gnome. He looks like a gnome. Poor little guy. Put him in the garden. So yeah, there's a gnome. You know, some people just have names that just feel right for them. Damn. He chonky. He thick. I assume he's a giant. Yeah, he is. He's giantism. I bet his prowess, his martial feats, is going to be suitably impressive. Very much so. Oh, and you've just got murdered, almost. That you do not like that you're having a good time. We've already discussed clothes in a previous dev diary, so I won't go into great detail about them, but I would like to show something I don't think we've shown before. That is the Barbershop feature, which allows you to change clothes, headwear, and hairstyle for your character. That's cool. I'll take that. That's awesome. Even though the vast majority of characters have randomly generated appearances, there are some notable exceptions. The detailed setup of the DNA system allows us to design quite specific appearances where we want to. There are some historical starting characters in the game whose looks were based on how they were described in historical sources. For example, William the Bastard and Harold Godwinson of England. Of course, medieval sources are not always perfectly reliable, and the portraiture from the time not the most accurate, to put it mildly. So we've had to do some guesswork and use a lot of artistic license. There are also a whole bunch of developer characters with appearances that match their real-life counterparts. Nice. Gotta catch them all. They're lurking around various courts in the game. If you want to find them, a pro tip is to browse through the characters in modern-day Sweden. Yeah, you don't say. It's perfectly possible to mod DNAs as well as adding new ones, so if you feel like adding your own likeness or a medieval Abraham Lincoln to the game, it's fairly easy to do so. It's really, I doubt it's easy, but if you want to try, then that's cool too. Historical characters in the Fate of England, the 1066 start date. Guess who is who? Okay, so I'm thinking William the Bastard is the guy in the center. Harold Godwinson is this one in the red. This is Hardrada. Actually, maybe you're William the Bastard. I don't know who you are. Yeah, I'm going to go with Hardrada, William, and Godwinson. Although, looking at the crowns, that's a fleur-de-lis. There's fleur-de-lis on 3 of them. So I don't know. Yeah. Leave in the comments below who you think each one is. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Put them in the comments. And finally, to end this on a more gruesome note, the last thing I'd like to show you is some diseases. Nice. As you know, the Middle Ages were a time of ravaging epidemics and quick, unexpected death from disease. A bit like today. And the game reflects that quite in a graphical way. If you don't enjoy being disgusted, don't worry, we have the option to turn off the worst looking diseases and replace them with something less nightmare-inducing. Warning, the following image features diseases that some viewers might find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, of course we're going to go look, but if you don't want to see some gruesome diseases, feel free to turn it off now. Alright, here we go. These are the diseases. Ugh, good lord. So, can you tell what disease is what? I'm thinking, again going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 2 is definitely the measles. Or to be smallpox. Might be smallpox. Black Death on the 2 in the right. 5 and 6. Leprosy for number 3, perhaps. Pretty nasty, for sure. Alright, cool. Alright, let's go and have a look to see if there are any developer comments. And right now there is just one. Let me just refresh while we've been reading the dev diary. Maybe there's been more. There have not. Okay, fair enough. Basically just saying that Niels is currently on holiday, so please be a bit patient for the dev responses. Yeah, those are some diseases right there. Anyway, that has been a very interesting developer diary full of very interesting things. I'm very happy with the way that the character portraits are looking, and while, like I said, when I first got shown CK3, these character portraits, when they are still images, don't look the best. Seeing them when they are in motion, because these guys are not static, they are actually moving around, looks way better, and they don't look quite so plasticky, I guess. It would be my thing. So yeah, character portraits, I'm a big fan of them now. My initial reservations have, for the most part, all completely gone away. Like, one of the big things I was really worried about is the bin bagginess of the satin clothes, and that seems to have been toned down quite a hefty amount to a level where I'm really happy with. So yeah, that's awesome, and I hope you agree that that's awesome. But I would love to know what you think in the comment section below, especially what you think the diseases are. If we go back down here, actually, not just the diseases, but if you want to let me know in the comments who each of these 5 fellas are, put those in the comments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and fuck it, put the diseases in as well. Call it A, B, C, D, E, and F. So leave those in the comments section below, and in the next Dev Diary, I will let you know if you were correct or not. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this return to Dev Diary normality, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.